calling from a 605 area code. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hello? Is that
Hello?
me? Hello?
Yeah, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, yeah. Hey, I'm calling from Minnesota, but I have a South Dakota number. But just wanted to talk a bit about the college thing. And I think the right has done a good job of branding colleges as like Cal Berkeley or, some other small private liberal arts college. But there's a lot of really small Christian colleges all over the Midwest that are rabidly conservative and churning out college graduates who, have not been exposed to anything that you would get at, kind of a real college.
Right.
And so, I don't know, it just seems to be something that's completely glossed over, that every time we talk about colleges, it's, Cal Berkeley. And that's not at all representative of, even state colleges.
No, that's a good point. I actually asked Gene Bajlan, my friend who teaches at Missouri State, and didn't have. I just said, hey, like, is this like, kind of like what's the politics like here, basically? And he was like, it's actually quite, at least in this case, like sort of representative of, there's active, it's probably a bit more liberal than other parts of Missouri, but it's it's Democrat. There's a lot of Republicans. There's a lot of people that are relatively non-political. It sort of actually tracks with most of the rest of the country. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination both. Like, I went to a college which actually not exactly, like, it wouldn't have the same type of sort of extreme reputation as, like, the favorite, but is in that milieu of, like, where these college examples come from. I think actually, I mean, certainly... Actually, I mean, three of us at least did, because you went to Colgate, right? Is that acceptable public information? Yeah. And Jamie went to Columbia, which is a school of just total fucking nerds and losers, and it's just sad. Yeah, and it's so true. She doesn't even deny it. But but like, and I went to Bates, so the stories tend to come out of those sort of like, ironically, like hyper elite. Private institutions, and they're usually, by the way, too, like the stories usually, I guess with the exception of Evergreen, but like, and it's like, I mean, before we even get into the specifics of all the different cases, those are such a tiny sliver of the overall American collegiate experience. And also I could tell you too, at least from my own personal experience, I have no doubt that like the default setting was like, Democrat. Although there was a chunk of, of real like New England preppy, like prep school Republican kids. Although I have to say, when Obama came along, he did pretty much single-handedly destroy that. It went from like there was a big college Republican club to basically like every single person on that campus being, ready for Obama, which was pretty interesting. And that was, I think, partially just pretty cultural. But, it wasn't like, even with radical professors, it was a real environment, and you definitely got judged on the content of your work in a really rigorous and, in a lot of cases, pretty non-ideological way, which I just couldn't even imagine being the same on a small right-wing campus. And as you know, too, like, the biases were cultural. They definitely weren't economic. I mean, there was a lot more, like... yes, I think if you came out and you said something that was like anti-gay, that would be really socially unacceptable. But you could certainly come out. But you could certainly come out and say like, "Hey, I think people." No, I'm talking about, again, my experience. I have no doubt in flyover country you could.
Oh, okay.
But I'm saying in my experience that was. But any number of people could say like, "Hey, like, my dad worked really hard to do whatever, and so you shouldn't have health care." That was not like an unspoken opinion at all. Yeah.
There was actually a pretty large conservative presence at Columbia, as one might expect whenever you get many children of the haute bourgeoisie together in one place. They actually... I forget who did it, but there was actually a somewhat alt-righty affirmative action bake sale my freshman year that caused controversy on campus, where they charged different amounts.
Is that how you and Sean met? Yeah.
They charge different amounts based on, what race you were or whatever.
Oh, no, I remember that story.
Yeah, so they exist.
Yeah, man, I agree with you.
I wanted to just say one thing too, like a thank you to the sort of ray gun and immigration lawyers and just kind of lawyers in general that are working for people. I've had this experience with a recent college grad who I worked with who had a mental episode that led to him causing a car accident, and then because he was given no bail, but he had to pay for an alcohol monitoring device, which he wasn't even under the influence of alcohol when he caused this accident. Mm-hmm. And because he lived out of state, the cost of the deposit is like $1,500.
Okay.
And of course, this kid has nothing and sat in county jail. And so when you talk about criminal justice reform, those county jails, there's a lot of people, it's all poor people.
Right.
No doubt. It's not, they're in there for nothing other than the fact that they don't have money.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
Yep, but thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
the call.
Appreciate what you do.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.